Hello and welcome back to another 15-minute memory. This is the line drawing from a recent memory that I did as a short practice and did several studies of this. Now for this drawing, again, I make several errors, and one of the things that I'm going to try and do with these videos as a series is to specifically point out the errors more than anything that I get right, because I really think that's where the greatest benefit lies in this. So for this drawing, I remembered around the side of the house there's a row of flowers, lovely little flower bed. So that was a recent memory which I thought I'd try and conjure up. And it's harder than it sounds. Now, the appeal of this to me is that because it's plants and flowers, it's not something which, you can't really tell quite so easily where things are wrong unless you're very familiar with certain plants and flowers. And that's what I'm doing here, is trying to make the most of how vague I can be and just create a few things that looked something like what I'd seen. Whereas anything where, if it were a car park that were the recent memory, I would obviously have a lot more of a challenge trying to render several cars. Now that I've said it, it is tempting, but I haven't been in a car park with several cars for over a year. So yeah, it's not something which is a recent memory. This one is, it's got more mistakes. I don't know, later on. At the beginning, I don't mind this so much. It's just to sort of do a bit of blocking. So what I'm actually thinking of is, because I've drawn a line from the bottom left up to the lower centre right for the line of the pathway, I'm now just trying to figure out how to lay out, the bits of leaves and how to just block out that centre strip going in that direction. So it starts off with some quite nice swoops of lines and things which I try to do in a single stroke, which is what I've learnt from this practice of, this exercise. Now, for full disclosure, out of 13 drawings I did for this 15-minute memory, this is actually the 13th. So these videos aren't in chronological order due to the process of transferring the footage onto my computer and then putting them into a playlist to watch. And then I think it was just that process between watching them from the playlist and plucking them out from the source folder to the editing program where I started to make each video. I was sure I had more. There's one specifically which I specifically remember filming, and I can't find it, and I'd like to, because it's one of the drawings which it's not amazing, but it's in a similar area to this, and it's interesting to me because instead of just the pathway with the flowers, I also have a deck chair. Not really exciting, but when it comes to points of interest on a study from imagination, that's something which I looked forward to, because it's a different shape and you just have to form it quite differently. So the more challenging parts of this are to continue with the effort that I put into the beginning, and that does start to wane. This again is something where I'm trying to make use of the space with big floppy leaves, and I can't really remember what I'd seen, so it is all completely made up, and I'm just trying to vary the shapes of the plants because I know that they're not all the same. I don't know if they're in rows of twos, but I know they're in rows. Since then I have walked down the path and seen how tall the plants are, and it's certainly not that accurate what I'm doing, but I don't mind the picture afterwards. but the biggest mistakes happen after I get the plants down and I start to try to create the rest of the environment, which is what I'm going to learn, is that trying to rush things which you haven't necessarily done before, and it's just a concrete wall up against, which this row is up against, I should say, and that proved far more challenging than it should have been. But outside of that, because of my rushing towards the end, it's, I had more than enough time, I think. I don't think I was hoping to get lots more detail in when the time ran out. So it was just something where I was, I think, out of, more creative ideas of how to sell the 3D shape that I was trying to convey. Whereas all these plants, I don't mind too much. As I said, it's just the varied marks and shapes of them which sell them to me as close enough. And this is just a close enough studies that you're supposed to be doing, just so that the next time you do walk around and look at things, you may see it with slightly more detail, with this in mind, thinking what happens at the bottom of each of these plants. Because I'm just assuming here that the spread is, I don't know, patchy like this, and it could be completely different. It's not something which I spent much time looking at since, but I think if I knew I was going to continue with these 15-minute drawings, then I would consciously spend more time looking at things. It's kind of sad that I don't really, but I suppose after I did 13 of them, it just made a shape when I'd put them up on the wall together that I was fairly satisfied with leaving it there. Even though, I have many more of these same pieces of cardboard. It might be worth covering why I'm drawing it on these pieces of cardboard as well. I started drawing on cardboard about 6 years ago, I think. I think it was 6 or so years ago. And it was just because sometimes it can be really tricky drawing straight onto a really clean, bright piece of white paper, where it's not difficult on a piece of cardboard that is just the packaging of something that you turn inside out. And I'd find that I didn't hesitate as much. I'd experiment more with ideas, and I'd end up with more interesting drawings on pieces of cardboard packaging. And it just turned out being something where I could always escape the artist block or the creative slump that you hit once in a while by just scribbling away on paper. You can see here the marks are becoming more erratic and impatient. I've got no stamina when it comes to these fiddly details. I just got exasperated with the lack of clarity I have in my mind to create these plants. But anyway, back to the cardboard. So there's the reason of getting over the hump of instead of having some blank piece of paper, but it's also, the cardboard does have a nice I call it noise, but I just mean texture to it. Really, it's not clean. It's got little marks already in there and blemishes that I think are far nicer than having just brilliant white shining back at you, where I feel that I'm more inclined to try and make more of a mess on white paper just because it's too bright. It's just overwhelming. With the cardboard, I've found that the longer I've been drawing, the more I feel, I don't know, I suppose a similar temptation to put down more marks just to cover up more of the natural cardboard colouring, or introduce a white as well if I have a paint pen. But I am I don't know, I'm typically drawing with one pen for an entire drawing, and it's not just laziness. I think it is a curiosity at how many marks and how many textures you can render with one instrument. I've tried it the same thing with pencils, where with one pencil I've tried to do a whole drawing and it doesn't sound impressive, and the reason it doesn't is because that's not how you get better pencil drawings. One pencil doesn't achieve all of the different tones that you can capitalize on in order to render a 3D shape. So similarly with this pen, if it were not a 15-minute study in a commission, it'd be wise to use more than just one pen. I mean, this is a double-ended pen as well, and I'm still only using the side with the brush. I think the decision there is because it's a larger surface area. The idea behind this 15-minute memory is from something called Memories and Reveries by Marshall Vandruff, and he recommends just small rectangles, I think, in your sketchbook, just so that you can look on it for composition. Another reason why I'm using this cardboard, though, is because I've getting into the habit of drawing on cardboard. I've got a lot of cardboard boxes that I haven't drawn on that I've had for a long time. And this is actually yogurt pots, a cardboard packaging from that. And I have those every morning. So, well, I have one of those every morning, but there's only 4 in the packet, and I've got tons of these. So the idea was to try and go through as many as possible initially, and then, as I said, as soon as they were up on the wall, I just thought, that's quite nice, actually. I can either do more, or for the time being, just start to edit videos, because I've made so many videos and not edited them together, and then I'm more inclined to do, put some work into editing a video that I've done recently. But I will go back and have a look at anything that was worth posting and try to edit something together for that as well. So here I'm just literally fiddling around trying to add bits and bobs. So you can tell I've already made such a mess of that wall, but it is, when I look at it, I can see the wall that I'm doing, even though it's not nice looking at all. That's certainly something where if I were to do that wall now, there's far better ways of doing it. Even though I don't have an immediate fix, it's certainly, that's not going to be the go-to technique for trying to show shaped concrete. It's a weird kind of lumpy concrete shape that happens on these panels, and that kind of looks like it to me, to be honest. But it's not my favourite out of the pieces, but it does break up a lot of the other indoor studies. So as I said, this may be the second episode of the 15-minute memory, but technically this is number 13 of 13. And I think I may be keeping a loose eye on the time here, so I'm literally just coming to the end and start to make tiny little cracks in the concrete, and otherwise it's all been covered fairly quickly, because the details that I'm trying to put down are fairly straightforward. It's a shame. There's a lot of dots and dashes here where I could have just done something else with those concrete panels. I still don't know what. But yeah, all of these little spots and bits and bobs are really not ideally what you would do in a line drawing. A few isn't too bad, but this is a bit excessive. But there we go. Once in a while I do a lazy version. It's not something that I regret, because if I were to draw this again, I'd certainly do enough different. But the beginning fairly similar, because I do like the swoopy, confident marks to make the leaves and shapes of the flowers. I still think that's the stronger part of the sketch. And then probably this last mark here, which I quite like, which is a crack in the concrete, and then a tiny little bit to make it look a little bit more. And that's it. That's me out of time. Once again, I learnt a lot from doing it. It being the 13th piece, I did enjoy putting it up with the others. If you like this video, then please check out another one, and I hope you did, and look forward to any more if you do like it. Okay.